Well, a huge percentage of what you hear on TV these days centers on the perils of Russia. Russia attacked our democracy. Russia corrupted our election. Putin has declared war. Russia is our greatest threat. That's what the Democratic Party and their PR department in the American media have been telling us for more than a year. No one's defending Russia, but is this true? Let's play a game and you can decide. We'll describe actions by a hostile foreign power, and you guess whether it's Russia or China. Get a pen. Ready? First, the FBI director said this country uses students and professors at American universities as spies. This problem is so widespread that almost every FBI field office is dealing with it. Russia? Nope. China. China has 350,000 students in the U.S., some of whom apparently are intelligence agents. Next question. This country reportedly hacked the Office of Personnel Management, giving it access to millions of federal personnel records, which allows its spy agency to locate espionage targets. This country also hacked the FDIC and a number of other government agencies and departments. Russia? No, China. A company from this country has effectively taken over an entire U.S. territory. Bloomberg reported last week how a massive state-sponsored gambling operation now essentially runs the island of Saipan, which used to be ours. Russia? Nope. China once again. Question 4. This country will soon overtake the U.S. as the world's largest economy, if it has not already. Russia? Please, it's hilarious. Russia's third world compared to, yes, China. This country has killed tens of thousands of Americans by manufacturing and exporting fentanyl, the deadliest narcotic known to man. Russia may have maintained fake Twitter accounts, but actually China did that. Finally, this country demands that American companies censor their products, movies, media, websites, in order not to offend the corrupt oligarchy that runs their police state. Amazingly, American companies obediently comply with these orders because they're afraid not to. Is it Russia they're kowtowing to, that mean old Putin? Of course not. It's China. So tell us, which country strikes you as a bigger threat to America? Ying Ma is the author of Chinese Girl in the Ghetto, former deputy director of the Committee for American Sovereignty, a pro-Trump super PAC, and she joins us tonight. Ying, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
So look, I mean, there are a couple levels. One, I think China is a threat to the United States. The rise of China is a threat to our place in the world. But compared to Russia, is there really a comparison?
Well, you know, let's recall that a few years ago it was Senator John McCain who said that Russia really is just a gas station masquerading as a country.
Yes.
So, you know, you don't need to take that literally, but I think any sane person would look at China's economy, look at the trajectory of their rise, and understand that China actually poses a much more serious long-term strategic threat to America's place in the world. But we don't even have to look at that on such a broad scale. I think we just need to look back 20 years. The last time we had a serious foreign influence campaign scandal in this country was during the Clinton era, when, you know, the Democratic National Committee was forced to give back nearly $3 million of foreign money, and we know that
is that Russian money?
And we know that, you know, during that scandal there was actually a lot of Chinese money involved, yes. Money from the communist government or people affiliated with the Chinese government, and there was money from elsewhere in Asia too. But I mean, that was actually real money that had to be given back. Thus far, we haven't seen anything like that in the current Russia investigation.
So is it possible that if you want to know who has power, you just ask who does nobody criticize? Everyone can criticize Russia. There are no repercussions. Has a single person in Hollywood or in finance ever criticized China? Doesn't that kind of tell you how beholden we are to China, what a threat they actually are, that nobody ever says anything?
Well, I mean, I think some people have criticized China when it was popular to do so. I mean, let's remember 7 Years in Tibet, done by Brad Pitt. It was popular back then to criticize.
Could that get made today?
I don't know. I mean, you know, Hollywood hasn't come and asked me for my opinion on the
The answer
so I have
is
no idea.
Richard Gere can't even get a movie role because China doesn't like him.
Well, yeah, there you go. But what we do know is that a lot of these Hollywood people like to do things that are popular, and these days it is popular to criticize Donald Trump. It is popular to question the legitimacy of his electoral victory. A lot of the people who are obsessed with the Russia investigation, people from the fake news media, what they really want to do is essentially to sort of bring out anything that makes the current president look bad.
I mean, look, I think it's okay to criticize the president. I've criticized many presidents and really meant it. But if you care about the country, you have to think soberly about what threats it faces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're telling the public that Russia is the biggest threat America faces, you're either lying or stupid.
Well, or you could be both, right? And you know, what we do know is that that while we've been obsessing over this Russia investigation, we've actually ignored some really weighty issues, not just China, but China being one of the certainly one of the most weighty issues among them. So
no, it's a really good point. There's a huge cost. As Lee Smith was just saying, there's a big cost to this stuff. Thank you for that.
So much.
Good to see you.
Vladimir Putin, I think more than any Westerner ever, probably. Polls in the last year have shown a growing sense among Americans that Russia is our chief enemy. Do you think Russia sees us that way?
I would say that comes because of media pressure and the amount of interviews given by the government calling them the #1 existential threat. The military commanders have said
What's
so.
the motive there? Why would the
Our
press?
motive,
Yeah, why you're saying that the American press is creating antagonism where it doesn't naturally exist? Why would they do
the
that?
American government, and whether the American press is to a sense corporate media and represents a corporate government point of view. It's in our interest to have enemies. Russia always been an enemy for the most part.
But it's liberals who are mad at you for making this film. It is. I've seen an hour of it, and it is friendly. But they're attacking you as a lapdog of Putin, that you've sold out. I mean, you've gotten a hostile reception from the American left. I always thought of you as a part of the American left.
It goes to show you that nothing is what it seems. You know, there's all kinds of fracturing. There is a progressive left, and much of the progressive left divorced from Hillary Clinton in the election. People like myself went third party. The reason was that she essentially had become, in the last 20 years, has become a neoconservative. She has backed all the neocon, basically the invasion of Libya, the destruction of Libya, which is crucial. She backed the Iraqi war resolutions. She has been a major figure in attacking the Syrian sovereignty, the sovereignty of the Syrian government. This is very important. So, in a sense, we've destroyed the sovereignty of these countries in the Middle East. It's Libya, Iraq, and now Syria, or we're trying to destroy Syria. Very important. If this crumbles, the Middle East crumbles. And the world order, which is very important to Mr. Putin, a sense of law, a sense of fundamental principles, has gone out the window. He talks about it.
Well, if I can say, that's the opposite of the way he's presented here, as someone, he's presented as an autocrat who doesn't care about law, and by the way, who hacked our democracy and undermined our elections.
We don't know that. We're told that. And
do you believe that?
You're jumping around, Tucker, but we have to have evidence of this. There's thin amount of evidence, and it's been told to us by 3 agencies, the CIA, the NSA, and the FBI. It was told to us in January, a few days before Mr. Trump came into office. It was called an assessment, thin. The report itself, if you read it, as I think Stephen Cohen has pointed out to you, is not an intelligence estimate. It doesn't have dissent, doesn't have the kind of information that is required. It's kind of as Cy Hirsch said, it was a joke. And he faults John Brennan, the head of the CIA, as creating a fear and a paranoia without evidence at a time in a transition when it's very important in American democracy that we trust our leaders. So Trump was, in a sense, slapped in the face with 2 weeks to go. I mean, this thing is serious. It's calling Trump essentially a Manchurian candidate. That's as hostile as it's ever been in a transition.
But you've seen that again and again. I mean, there was just a story out that the investigation into Trump, headed by former FBI Director Robert Mueller, apparently FBI agents are leaking details of that investigation to the press. And you're seeing leaks from all the different intel agencies against the administration. It seems like they're trying to change their policies.
That's correct.
Does that surprise you?
Well, the overtness of it does. If the investigation were to continue, which it probably will, I think that they have to go back to the origins of that leak in January. Who put out that information? Who gave it to the New York Times or Washington Post back channel? You have to ask these questions. It seems as if some people have said, and I tend to agree, the deep state, the military-industrial complex, the intelligence agencies, have their own position and have had it for many years, and they continue to promote the wars that they do in all these countries. And even Obama said, I want to close Guantanamo, I want to cut down on Afghanistan, I want to do this and I want to do that. He didn't do it. You have to ask yourself, who is running the country?
Doesn't the president get to decide the policies?
You'd think so. You'd think so, but I think we need a thorough examination of what's going on. I'm shocked at what the CIA did and what Brennan did. It seemed like he was very hostile to Trump, very hostile, and I think Comey carried it out. It was Comey, if anybody, influenced the election, in my opinion. it was Comey's declaration that the investigation on Clinton had been dropped, and then he reopened it 3 weeks or 2 weeks before.
Have you talked to President Trump in the last year or so?
No, I directed him in a film, Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, and it was a deleted scene, not his fault, but it was interesting to work with him for that day as an actor.
Thanks a lot for
Maybe
joining
he's
us.
still an actor.
Oliver Stone, good to see you.
Thank you, Tucker, for giving me the time.